following program on Other Derana 24 is classified MA. It is intended for adults and may be unsuitable for children under 17. It may contain crude, indecent language, explicit sexual activity, graphic violence, or political ideology. Viewer discretion is strictly advised. State of the Nation is an opinion-based program. The thoughts and opinions shared within this program are not intended to offend or disregard anyone's perspectives or beliefs. We aim to foster open dialogue, encourage critical thinking, and explore thought-provoking subjects. Recognizing the importance of diversity and inclusion, this program welcomes all viewpoints and cherishes the right to express them freely. This program also contains the opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Tonight, walking the tightrope of foreign diplomacy. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has recently returned from what the government is celebrating as a highly successful state visit to China. This visit has yielded additional advantages for Sri Lanka. However, it raises an important question regarding the foreign policy of the current administration. How will this government navigate its relationships with various nations that have long been interested in Sri Lanka and are now contemplating the direction of our allegiance? For insights, analysis and opinions, tonight I will speak to Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Digital Economy Eranga Weeraratne, former Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Sarath Amunugama, founder and CEO of WSO2 Sanjeeva Weerawarna, Senior Counsellor and Psychologist Dr. Ashoka Priyadharshana, and tech entrepreneur Shenal Vanderwall. Good evening, I'm Mahieash Johnney, and this is the State of the Nation. Providing you with not just opinions but informed opinions along with views built on research, experience and a genuine desire to understand the complexities of our nation. Good evening everyone. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight as well, right here on State of the Nation. I'm Mahieash Johnney. Boy, we have a lot to get through tonight, so let's get started. For decades, we as a nation has navigated a complex global landscape seeking prosperity and security. But as the world powers dynamic shift, our foreign policy has never been more crucial. Today, we stand at crossroads. Three superpowers, the United States, China and India, each vying for influence with each of their own set of priorities. The pressure to align ourselves with one bloc or the other is immense. But for this new government, the national people's power, falling into that trap would be a grave mistake. We've seen it before. History teaches us that the perils of being solely beholden to one power. Previous administrations like former President Mahindra Rajapaksa faced similar pressures, and some have found themselves in situations of over-reliance leading to challenges in maintaining our national interests. The temptation to align completely, to choose between the West or the East, can be strong. But the cost to our sovereignty, to our ability to chart our own course, is too high. The key to Sri Lanka's future lies not in submission, but in strategic diplomacy. It's about managing relationships with all three superpowers and the rest of the world by prioritizing our national sovereignty. This isn't about playing one against the other, but about engaging with each as equals. What does this look like in practice? It means welcoming investment and development from all sides and not by being dictated by one side. It means forging trade agreements that benefit our economy and creating opportunities for our people. For an example, the free trade agreement between China and Sri Lanka is expected to be finalized in the near future. However, it is imperative that this agreement does not result in an overwhelming influx of Chinese products into our markets. It is equally important that Sri Lankan products are granted comparable access to Chinese markets under mutually beneficial terms. It also means seeking technology transfers and knowledge sharing that will help us leap forward. But most importantly, it means maintaining our independence. It means having a voice on the global stage, not just an echo of someone else's. We must be clear about what our priorities are: economic growth, infrastructure development, strengthening our institutions, and empowering our citizens. These must be the guiding stars of our foreign policy. This path isn't easy. It requires nuanced diplomacy and a clear understanding of national interests, not just ours, but of other nations as well. It demands a strategic approach that both assertive and cooperative. There are no quick fixes and no one-size-fits-all solutions. But by forging on our long-term goals and acting independently, we can ensure Sri Lanka's future is one of true progress and prosperity. Sri Lanka's journey is unique, and our foreign policy must reflect that. Our government must choose the path of sovereignty, engage as equals, and build a future where all Sri Lankans can thrive. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the State of the Nation. In our lead story tonight, President's historic visit to China. Now, one significant error committed during the Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration was the failure to visit China and strengthen diplomatic relations immediately following a visit to India. In retrospect, despite the Rajapaksa's apparent loyalty to China, this allegiance did not yield the expected support during the financial crisis of 2022 for former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, as the response from China was notably sluggish in assisting the former president. In contrast, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe avoided this misstep by ensuring a balanced approach towards both nations, and he further enhanced diplomatic ties by engaging with the United States, thereby establishing a trifecta of influential powers. Now, the recent visit by President Anura Kumara Dissanayake was also crucial, as it did facilitate much-needed re-engagement with China, a key player in Sri Lanka's economic development. Well, to discuss about this visit further, let's bring in the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Arun Hemachandra. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me tonight as well. Appreciate your time. Now, what were the key areas of President Disanayake's focus in his visit to China, and did he manage to achieve it?
Thank you, Mahieash, for once again inviting me for this beautiful show. Actually, we have achieved the target. In fact, we are focusing on three key areas: socio-economic and cultural. So, as you know, China has been a very long-standing friendly nation of Sri Lanka, and historically we have ties for so many hundreds of years. So we believe we can continue the friendship, the relationship between both countries, in a very strong manner. So first of all, economically we are gaining more investments, and as you know, the trip is entirely based on country's benefit. So in the past there were a lot of visits by presidents, but then again we believe it is completely different compared to those. and we were successfully able to secure a lot of investments. Certain things were discussed in the past, but then again we are able to successfully secure them, and also there are a few more investments that are in the pipeline to be included. So, and also our President has met the business community in China, and also we have discussed in regards to the state-owned enterprises and its successful nature in China. So, as a key focus is on economic building, we believe this visit has been a very successful journey. And also in regards to the social element, China has become a very successful nation in regards to eliminating rural poverty. And as eliminating rural poverty is one of the key aspects of NPP government, this trip has been an exponential aspect. And also in regards to cultural, as you know, China is a very culturally rich country, and it has a very widely distributed language. So, there are so many things that both countries could cooperate together, and overall it is a very successful trip for Sri Lanka.
Indeed, Minister, of course, one of the key outcomes is this Sinopec agreement. I think more than $3.7 billion investment from that company. This is a very sizable investment, and more Chinese presence here in Sri Lanka. We see that all three superpowers, China, India and the United States, being interested in our energy sector. China now with this investment, earlier India increasing its oil refinery capacity up there in Trincomalee, and also looking at connecting each country's electric grid, and then the Adani projects, and of course the United States interested in our power generation plants. Minister, this begs the question that isn't this a national security issue when all our energy dependency as a nation lies on foreign powers? Isn't it alarming?
Well, I think it's a good question, because NPP has been a critic in regards to energy security in this country. So, it's reasonable for you all to ask this question. But whatever NPP government does is based on the benefit of the nation. And as you know, we were able to successfully secure a lot of investments, especially from China and India. But whatever it is, we believe the entire thing is for the sake of the country's benefit, and we make sure that the energy sector security will be upheld. And also there are certain other countries which are interested in investing as direct foreign investment in this country. So, all of them are welcome, but definitely we will make sure that the country's energy security will be upheld. And also there were discussions about the connectivity and so many things in the past. But then again, we have not finalized all those things, but the discussions are still open. We will be discussing with them, but then again we have not come to any final conclusion in regards to this. But then again, as a country, we will make sure that the entire entire energy sector will be secured in the future.
Indeed, Minister, where would President Dissanayake might be visiting next? Perhaps would he be interested in going to Russia or the United States?
Well, we have not decided as such, but then again, our President, he started the first trip to India, and then again now it's to China, and then again we are discussing in regards to his future foreign trips. So, it could be USA, it could be Russia, or it could be any other nation which is not either USA or Russia. But whatever the nation would be, definitely it will be for the betterment of the nation, betterment of the people of Sri Lanka. So, we know, as you know, the country needs a lot of economic investments, and as you know, just we have overcome the bankruptcy situation, and we are bouncing back, and there is a lot of transparency taking place in the country. A lot of investors are happily willing to invest in Sri Lanka. So, definitely the next visit would be also to a friendly nation who are interested in investing and developing Sri Lanka.
Indeed. Well, all right, let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Arun Hemachandra. Appreciate it. Let's get more context into this visit of the President to China. Let's bring in former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Sarath Amunugama. Good to see you, sir, and in good spirits, I hear. Thank you for joining us once again. Now, in your opinion, how crucial was this visit to China? Now, one key error that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made was omitting China.
Mahieash, I think the visit of our President Anura Dissanayake to China was a very important and a very wise step taken by this government. His first visit was to India, and to balance it, I think he made this visit to China. We all know today that you cannot have internal affairs without considering the external factor, particularly Sri Lanka, which is located in a very strategic position, which is very important for the geopolitics of the region, has to be very careful and also very proactive when it comes to the external factor. So the first visit to China, to India, was very tactful and was very significant. He made a very good impression there, as we can see in the subsequent activities where India took the initiative. And now his visit to China is equally important, because those are the two Asian giants now, not only today but with a tremendous potential. Both these giants are now apprehensive of the change of regime in the United States. So at this stage, we should strengthen our links with these two countries, which are now very apprehensive and very receptive to the external factor and trying their very best to reach out to Sri Lanka as a valuable partner. So this is a crucial time, and I think this type of approach, which is very sensible, which is very tactical and also quite amiable, I think is the correct way to go. I like to congratulate the President and his team.
Indeed. Doctor, how crucial is this balancing act? Now, you just saw all superpowers, China, India and the United States are investing in Sri Lanka's energy sector. More wants to invest in various other areas as well. While investment is good, it also beats the question of sovereignty and more so on independence. How crucial is this balancing act?
Mahieash, as I mentioned earlier, the internal affairs of our country are very closely linked with the external factor. So, I think this talk about sovereignty is exaggerated. It is this sort of what in Sinhala we call the Dupata mentality, island mentality, which has not taken us anywhere. As you mentioned, the earlier regime of Gotabaya is the best example of trying to be an island, island nation, trying to be a Dupat Manasikatva, which brought us into a terrible mess. So, I think this government is on the right track. The government is capable, or the country is capable of looking after its sovereignty. We have to very wisely manage the investment. But one thing is quite true, that unless we have investments, we are done for. There is no sovereignty that we can rescue or save if we don't have the investments and we can bring this country on a development path. All this nonsense of talking sovereignty is by people who have never taken a single decision regarding how to make this economy grow, how to see that we become a rich country. It is very important, because even our way out of the debt trap requires that we increase our foreign earnings. Sri Lanka has to go on the path of trade, of manufacture, of being a hub of international industrial and trade activity. So for that, we have to get foreign investment. We don't have money of our own, and we have to make this country prosper. It is only then that we can carry out this program of social equity, of growth with equity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, we have to leave it at that. That was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Sarath Amunugama. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break, but soon after, Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne, will be here to talk about Sri Lanka's Digital National ID Card Initiative. And later, the founder and chairman of WSO2 will also be here to talk about developing Sri Lanka as a digital hub. This is the State of the Nation. Back in a moment. Welcome back everyone to the State of the Nation. Now I want to build a bit more on the tightening laws pertaining to Sri Lanka's digital services. Last week I asked as to what was done during the SLPP government from Ali Sabri, the former Justice Minister. Watch.
The most important thing is the online safety bill. If you, we have suggested some amendment to that, so they can either review it or replace it. Because all the countries, including UK and European Union, have brought this online safety bills. Singapore, Malaysia, all those countries. It's a must. You have to have a balance between the two. I wouldn't say that we am totally happy with the current bill which has come in, but there are a lot we could work together. I think that's an area that we need to work. The new government should prioritize and do it.
Well, that was a former finance minister, former justice minister, and also former, I think, foreign minister as well, Ali Sabri, with regard to the digital initiative. Now, to become a leading digital hub globally and attract more revenue through this channel, it's crucial that we establish the right infrastructure, laws, and systems. Unfortunately, at the moment, none of these elements are operating as they should. While multinational companies like Meta, X, Alibaba and eBay are tapping into the Sri Lankan market, they aren't doing much to protect our consumers from potential injustices that might occur on their platforms. It's not that we lack the necessary laws. In fact, here's the raw data on that. Sri Lanka has several regulations concerning digital matters. Now, the Electronic Transactions Act was introduced back in 2006 during Mahindra Rajapaksa's presidency to legitimize electronic records and digital signatures, paving the way for secure e-commerce. Now, following that, the Computer Crimes Act was enacted in 2007, again during the Mahindra Rajapaksa regime, to tackle issues like hacking and data misuse. Now, more recently, in 2022, the Personal Data Protection Act was put in place to ensure organizations handle personal data responsibly. Additionally, the Online Safety Act was introduced just last year to establish a commission aimed at regulating harmful online content, although it sparked debate over potential freedom of speech violations. Now, given all these laws, it raises the question, why is it still so challenging to protect Sri Lankans from injustices on various online platforms generated by other nations? Let's try to understand more on that, and for that, let's go to State of the Nation's Mihin De Silva, who's at the data board tonight. Welcome, Mihin. Now to all our viewers, Mihin is one of the newest additions to our State of the Nation team and also to the other Derana family. This is his inaugural on-air presence and you will see, of course, more of him on many of our programs in time to come. Welcome, Mihin. Now, let's get into the question at hand. Mihin, I know you're a law student and also part of the whole Gen Z generation who are very much in touch with modern technology. Now, what are the areas in your research you found that Sri Lanka must strengthen its existing laws and, more importantly, create some in order to face modern day problems and to safeguard Sri Lankans?
Thank you for the warm welcome, Mahieash. And now to answer your question. So as you have rightfully mentioned, even though we have laws in place to regulate and govern the digital and technological sphere in Sri Lanka, we have actually identified these key drawbacks in our research. Now, you know, Mahieash, as Sri Lankans, we don't really have the luxury of holding these big tech companies like Meta or Alphabet liable to our claims because unlike in the United States, South Korea and Singapore, they don't really have their physical presence domestically in the Sri Lankan locality. So we'd always have to resort to cross-border litigation, and there are issues that pertains to cross-border litigation. So, you know, it actually would cost an arm and a leg to a Sri Lankan general public if they were to, you know, engage in this process. And also, Mahieash, we've found in our research that there's been a bit of a lacuna when it comes to e-trade and e-commerce fields, as you can, as we have mentioned, refund and cancellation policies and all that. And to move on, Mahieash, now to a bit of the practical side of the things, we have actually been having a problem of implementation in the legal system of Sri Lanka. So if I were to take this simple example of Online Safety Act, and so the Online Safety Commission, which is actually supposed to give life to this Online Safety Act, that has not yet been appointed by the government. And also, Mahieash, interestingly enough, there have been private litigatory efforts under this act, and in one of those such cases, they have actually made a big tech company, a big social media network, one of the respondents. But then again, we did not really see any response, coming through, any effective response or any adequate participation from them in the litigatory process, which actually deals with the Sri Lankan legal system. So that goes on to say that we need really strong enforcement measures, and also practical implementation of the laws need to be much stronger. Over to you, Mahieash.
Absolutely. I mean, interesting indeed that case you just pointed out, something I hope that the government along with the Justice Minister will take into consideration and work on it to safeguard Sri Lankans. Mihin De Silva at the Data Board, thank you very much. Now, Sri Lanka's India-assisted unique ID card project is set to start by the end of this month. The 20 billion rupee project receives substantial Indian assistance. It aims to gather biometric and biographical data of you and me who will be asked to apply for this digital ID card. Now, despite privacy concerns, officials assure that the data will remain within Sri Lanka and that all our data will be safe. Let's get more information on this, and joining me now is the Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Appreciate you coming on the show. Minister, in terms of safeguarding consumer rights of digital users within Sri Lanka from multinational corporations penetrating our markets, we see a dearth of significant laws put in place and enacted. Your thoughts on that?
So certain laws, we seriously lack certain laws because the world is quite new to all parts of the world, and to Sri Lanka especially, like certain laws lack the adaptability on digital world. So to protect the consumers and the users in that world, of course, there are certain digital requirements that have come. So to start with the Data Protection Act, thereafter the Computer Security Act, as well as Online Safety Bill kind of acts are pretty much needed. However, we understand that Online Safety Bill Act, there are so lot of concerns from the public as well as from the online organizations, which we are looking to seriously address them before we are getting that act activated. Otherwise, we also see certain concerns there, which we want to amend the act before implementing. However, safeguarding the consumers, the public is our number one priority, as well as that shouldn't mean hindering the service providers. Service providers should be able to give their services, the genuine services, but not to misuse and then fool the users. So these acts we will getting revamped and look at how we can get the best of legal framework in Sri Lanka in times to come.
Indeed, Minister, now the government has begun issuing national identity cards in digital format, which I honestly think is a good move. But then there's the whole conversation of data protection. Minister, point blank, are the data of Sri Lankans adequately protected?
Yes, Mahieash. I think the main issue about this identity card matter is about a lot of people are scared and having the misconception. Who are the parties who are going to own the data of this platform, as well as who is the party who is going to capture this data from the Sri Lankan citizens. And I am with authority, I am telling that this data will be captured by the government itself. It's not done by any third party, especially not foreigners. So there's no foreign party involvement in data capturing, as well as the ownership of data will remain with the government, especially the Department of Persons, Registration of Persons will own the data as well as own the platform, and they will carry on the digitalization of the national identity card with the digital ID platform. And therefore, there's no whatsoever concern to be to have it about the sovereignty of our data, as well as the protection and the security of data. It is always we will be held with the government.
Absolutely. All right, let's leave it at that. That was the Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratne. Appreciate it, sir. Now, if Sri Lanka is to make use of more in the digital space and to turn that into dollars flowing into the country, like the Minister mentioned, there should be a long-term plan that would harness these efforts. Many governments had tried with these initiatives of digitizing Sri Lanka, and all that effort didn't go as planned. We know many stories of various names coming into play, but didn't work out. Let's get some insights from someone who are actually engaging in the industry. Joining me now is the founder and CEO of WSO2, one of the pioneering tech companies in Sri Lanka, Sanjeeva Weerawarna. Sanjeeva, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you once again. Now, new government, new policies, new determination to digitize once again. You see positives coming out from this government's plan on that front?
Thank you, Mahieash, for having me. So, let me start off by saying I certainly see positive communication coming. And I also want to back that up immediately with the fact that we've been working on digitization now for 20 plus years. ICTA was formed in 2003. And while we have sporadic digitization of the government, we don't have any kind of strategic architecture, strategic digitization, strategic transformation of the economy into a digitally powered economy. None of those things have actually happened for 20 plus years. So I think we have to be a little bit realistic about the problem of doing this task and understand that it is not easy to take a complex beast like our government and digitize it. And it's going to take some time. So we need to be patient. We need to understand that the problem is hard. The solutions are not that hard technically, but as with any kind of technical digitization, digital transformation program, it's not just about the technology. It's about the people, it's about the processes. There's a whole combination of things that fall into place. And so it will take some time to get this done. So far, obviously, there's been some announcements and so forth. My only advice to the government would be go easy on the announcements. I know it's political. You got to make some noise, otherwise it's not good. But go easy on the announcement, focus on getting step-by-step things done. And you guys have 5 years, take the time. Don't be in a rush. Do the right thing over a 5-year window.
Absolutely. Sanjeev, in your opinion, what are the key areas that this government must focus on if Sri Lanka is to get a better footing in establishing itself as a tech powerhouse, more importantly? How can we convert that into dollars in our coffers?
Yeah, so I gave a talk about accelerating the digital economy at Central Bank about a month or so ago, I think. And one of the key things to understand that what digitization enables is for things to continue 24/7, basically be able to produce value while we are sleeping. There was an interesting statistic somebody had published on Twitter that UAE is one of the countries with one of the largest number of public holidays, actually even more than Sri Lanka. And we all think of UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc., as a country with very efficient execution of various things, right? Things just get done. And that's a lot of it is because of digitization. So the goal here is to really facilitate for the economy to keep moving all the time. And so from then you need to look at what is the role of the government in the economy. So really, that's when you have to look at first government to government business, then government to business, and then government to citizen, right? G to G, G to B, G to C. That's kind of the terms that I used. Government to government is very important because many things we do with the government involves multiple government agencies. And most of the time, because there's no trust architecture within the government as a system, they rely on the customer, me as a citizen or a business, having to go to every different part and get verified information, verified documents, the silly rubber stamp, the signature, all this stuff starts mattering. And then to get something done, I need to go from here to here to here, and each one by one, because I'm moving some paper across. Things that can happen in parallel don't happen in parallel. So the focus needs to be, first of all, to build that core infrastructure that makes it possible to be a fully digital government. And that is not a quick hack, because you need to understand government, is a long-term project. That is, when you buy a piece of land and you go to the land registry and it gets registered in the land registry, that cannot disappear. That cannot say, oh, we got hacked. Too bad, we lost all the records, start again, right? Because that happens, in even private companies, right? Things get hacked and so on. You cannot have the land registry be hacked. So the solution is not about a quick thing, but you have to also understand everything you put into government. Well, let me take it back. Most of the things you put into government involve long time scales. Technology, all this computer science, all this digital infrastructure is less than 100 years old. So you got to understand that and plan from that regard and say, whatever the design we make has to survive for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We can't keep redoing it. The approach we've taken, I've criticized this before, the driving license system was one of my pet peeves, because they spent 9 billion rupees or something on the tender to build it, and then 10 years later, they're doing it again. That is not a scalable, sustainable approach. And so the approach needs to be focus on the core, build a core infrastructure that facilitates the government to go digital, and then focus on how does the government interact with business, interact with citizens, and so forth.
Indeed. All right, let's leave it at that. Sanjeeva Weerawarna, founder and CEO of WSO2. Thank you very much. Good to see you once again. Let's take a break, and when we return, an interesting subject regarding Gen Z and complaining. Sounds familiar, right? I'll be speaking to Counsellor and Psychologist Dr. Ashoka Priyadharshana, and later on, a Gen Z entrepreneur, Shenal Vanderwall, will also be here to talk about this very subject. This is A State of the Nation. I'm back in a moment. Now, last week, there was an interesting episode aired on the program Gen XYZ, which is on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. right here on Other Derana 24. Now, the topic was Gen Z and their issues pertaining to the society and life. Now, if you watch the whole program, you would see complaining, and a little bit more complaining. Now, this got me wondering as to why this is. Gen Z has indeed become a generation of complainers. That's exactly what everybody starts to think. And in some parts of the world, many companies are opting out of recruiting Gen Zers because of this attitude. Now, in the United States, 1 in 6 companies are hesitant to hire Gen Z freshers because of a combine of preserved shortcomings in motivation, professionalism, and work ethic. Many companies are concerned over attitudes of entitlement, difficulty in handling feedback, and a lack of preparedness for the demands of a workforce, which has led to many employers being hesitant to embrace this generation. But it's a little bit different here in Sri Lanka. Now, despite the fact that in that card, what you saw stating that opportunities are not given to them, I kid you not, that in my department, the English programming department, which has around 15 people, are all Gen Zers. I think the oldest one is just 26 years old. The producer on the show, the one who's basically giving me instructions to my ear, is just 20 years old. And the second producer, 21. The research guy is 21. Even you saw today a new face who was at the data board, Mihin. He too is just 21 years old. Not only this department, the whole of the Derana Media Network has many Gen Zers working, and none of them have this attitude we see in the majority of them playing the blame and complaining game. I want to get a shot of my camera team as well, because basically if we can we cut to 5 and see these guys are also part of the Gen Z group, and none of them have ever been into buying into this whole complaining and blaming game, but working hard and getting results. So the question is, who's responsible for this? Are the parenting skills right now too soft? Are we as a society providing too much to our children out of affection, but in the long run affecting their ability to face real life problems? I really want to understand as to where this culture of complaining comes from. Let's get some expert opinion on that, and for that joining me now is the senior counselor and psychologist, Dr. Ashoka Priyadharshana. Thank you very much, doctor, for your time. Appreciate it. Now, like you saw, the young generation, mostly in the category of Gen Z, continues to engage in this blame and complaining game. Not everyone, most are there, like you just saw, are basically going against the tide. What most of them says, it's the fault of this guy, this thing, that thing, this generation, that generation. Now, it's never theirs. In your opinion, where do these things start to go wrong? Is it less involvement of the parents? Is it a lack of education on social skills in schools? Or is it social media? Where do you think of this culture of non-self-accountability comes from?
Thanks a lot, Mahieash, for contacting me and for inviting me for this, the discussion. And here, of course, first of all, I have to say that we should not draw conclusions like, this group, behaves in this particular manner, and, this group has, these characteristics and so on. But as a practitioner, as a psychologist who's been working with Gen Z especially, I have certain concerns on my side, especially. Now, when it comes to human development, obviously, we are concerned about 3 aspects. One is head, hand, and also heart. Now, of course, what do you mean by head? What does the head refer to? Head refers to knowledge, and hand refers to skills, and heart refers to attitudes. Especially as a practitioner who's been working with this particular group, of course, when it comes to their knowledge, level of understanding and level of intelligence, of course, we are very much satisfied. And even when it comes to their skills, of course, yes, we see in a lot of skillful youngsters, right? But the issue is there are certain issues, there are certain problems in relation to their attitudes, as I have come across. Now, many of us tend to talk about IQ, and even parents do drive their children towards IQ and how to enrich IQ and etc. But the problem is we have missed something really important. That is EQ. EQ refers to emotional intelligence. Now, we know that, Gen Z, since you have mentioned, Mahesh, about Gen Z, of course, they are really informative. We know that, Gen Z is digital natives. They are really informative, and they are still they strongly depend upon information and etc. So which means they are knowledgeable, they are informative, and they are skillful. Yes.
Absolutely. Doctor, how can we fix this? How can we make our younger generation more stronger to weather more tougher things in life and to actually look at life in a positive sense rather than this negative way?
Yes. Now, of course, with the mediation of technology and also with digitalization, I guess, like, we tend to be individualistic. I mean, youngsters tend to be individualistic. Like, we see this, disconnection between parents and children. That is something that we have to focus on. Like, when you become individualistic, and there is this, the probability and also the possibility for someone to be, depressed. And since I mentioned about emotional intelligence, one of the key aspects of emotional intelligence is this emotional control, self-control. And we have seen often how in this particular age, I mean, students or the children in this particular age have committed suicide, which means there is a problem in relation to their emotional regulation or how to control their emotions. And that is indeed a problem. I guess, as I have figured out, they seem to be moving away from this, the connection with their culture. We know that, Sri Lanka is a collectivist culture where everybody get together, even parents and children, they get together and they move forward. Even when they are making decisions, they move forward. But we know that, when it comes to this generation, obviously, they tend to be individualistic, which means they tend to focus on themselves, and they have certain, limited relationships with certain other people like parents. I guess, this mediation has to be there. Otherwise, it is going to be, problematic. So emotional intelligence, once again, I highlight on that aspect. It is something that should be nurtured and shared by the mediation of parents. And that is where we have to be concerned about. As a practitioner, I have come across, such instances where they move gradually away from their family and also, yes.
All right, let's leave it at that. That was Dr. Ashoka Priyadharshana. I really appreciate you coming on the show to share those views on this matter. Thank you. Now, I don't want to just end the program on that, but if there are any Gen Zers watching, I hope you get inspired by my next guest, who's also from this generation of Gen Z. And instead of doing the blame and complaining game, he went to do something to develop himself better and even start contributing to our nation's economy. Joining me now is Shenal Vanderwall, who's a tech entrepreneur and a program developer. Thank you very much, Shenal, for coming on the show. Appreciate it. My biggest question is, why did you, at the age of, I think, around 23, 24, was thinking about doing something different rather than going with the flow of your same generation? I mean, you managed to create an app that helps a lot of office people and not go into the path of more what Gen Zers are doing these days.
Sure. Thanks, Mahieash. I think for me, basically, I like the idea of building softwares. So that's what I really like to do. I started way back, probably around when I was 18, 16 time. I was very passionate about building softwares. That's all what I did. What ended up happening, I went ahead and started registering my first company back in, I think, 2015, 2016 time. So what actually happened, basically, I was surrounded by amazing set of people who did not know what I was doing. So I was surrounded by that type of people. So I was eventually forced to sort of get into do what I actually love doing. at a commercial level. So I think for any of you guys, whoever doing that, you have to have a passion for whatever you want to do, and eventually you're going to get surrounded by different types of like-minded people, and that's going to move you forward. But at one point you will feel like, for example, you'll feel like, okay, I'm done, and I'm not going to do it any further. If you're actually running out of your passion, that's the moment where people actually have to figure out whether to keep it going or not. So for me, basically, I loved doing and building softwares, and I was surrounded by amazing set of people, and I was enjoying myself seeing other people using my products. So I didn't really feel bad about that. So I was already on the line of doing things the way how I expected. So that's what made me really going forward with that.
Shenal, what's your advice to the whole Gen Z generation right now, who's a majority of the time blames everyone else other than themselves and expect everything spoon-fed?
Sure, good question actually, Mahieash. So basically, for example, you will start blaming everything when you are in the wrong environment. Basically, you're gonna start blaming your environment, neighbors, your processes. So if you're doing that, you are in the wrong hands of something. So first, try to get out of that. That would be my first advice, and do whatever that makes you happy. Because everybody has to start somewhere. And if you're starting somewhere that doesn't make you really happy, that's not going to get you anywhere. So if you really want to do something really well, first advice would be start something that makes you first happy, and do that for about some time, maybe 12 months, and figure out if you really want to do it any further. If the answer is yes, go forward. If the answer is no, stop it doing right away, because it's not going to get you to the next point.
Absolutely. Good advice indeed. Thank you very much. That was Shenal Vanderwall, a very young tech entrepreneur with a lot of prospect for the future. Appreciate you sharing that, Shenal. Well, as you saw, we had a lot to cover today, a lot of areas. So no time for a closing statement. Thank you very much for joining us this week as well. But the whole State of the Nation team, along with all the Gen Zers, appreciate you taking the time to join us this week as well, and make sure that you will join us next week as we continue to bring you views you can trust, opinions you cannot ignore. I'm Mahieash Johnney. See you then. Bye for now.